The King of Schnorrers by Israel Zangwill. Read by Adrian Pretzelis. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to find out how you can volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org.
The King of Schnorrers by Israel Zangwill. Chapter 2. Showing how the King reigned. When he realized that he had been turned into a fish porter, the financier hastened up the steps so as to be at the Schnorrers' side when the door opened. The livery servant was visibly taken aback by the spectacle of their juxtaposition. "This salmon to the cook!" cried Grobstock desperately, handing him the bag. Da Costa looked thunders and was about to speak, but Grobstock's eye sought his in frantic appeal. "Wait a minute, I will settle with you," he cried, congratulating himself on a phrase that would carry another meaning to Wilkinson's ears. He drew a breath of relief when the flunkey disappeared and left them standing in the spacious hall with its statues and plants. "Is this the way you steal my salmon after all?" demanded da Costa hotly. "Hush, hush! I didn't mean to steal it. I will pay you for it." "I refuse to sell. You coveted it from the first. You have broken the 10th commandment, even as these stone figures violate the 2nd. Your invitation to me to accompany you here at once was a mere trick. Now I understand why you were so eager." "No, no, da Costa. Seeing that you placed the fish in my hands, I had no option but to give it to Wilkinson, because... Grobstock would have had some difficulty in explaining, but Manasseh saved him the pain. "You had to give my fish to Wilkinson," he interrupted. "Sir, I thought you were a fine man, a man of honour. I admit that I placed my fish in your hands, but because I had no hesitation in allowing you to carry it, this is how you repay my confidence." In the whirl of his thoughts, Grobstock grasped at the word repay as a swimmer in a whirlpool grasps at a straw. "I will repay your money," he cried. "Here are your 2 guineas. I will get another salmon, and more cheaply. As you pointed out, you could have got this for 25 shillings. 2 guineas? Ejaculated Manasseh contemptuously. "Why, you offered Jonathan the fishmonger 3. Grobstock was astounded, but it was beneath him to bargain, and he remembered that after all he would enjoy the salmon. "Well, here are the 3 guineas," he said pacifically, offering them. 3 guineas? Echoed Manasseh, spurning them. "And what of my profit?" "Profit?" gasped Grobstock. "Since you have made me a middleman, since you have forced me into the fish trade, I must have my profits like anybody else." "Here is a crown extra." "And my compensation?" "What do you mean?" inquired Grobstock, exasperated. "Compensation for what?" "For what? For at least 2 things in the very least," Manasseh said unswervingly. "In the first place," and as he began his logically divided reply, his tone assumed the sing-song sacred to Talmudic dialectics, "compensation for not eating the salmon myself. For is it not as if I offered it to you? I merely entrusted it to you, and as it was ordained in Exodus, if a man shall deliver unto his neighbour an ass or an ox or a sheep or any beast, to keep them for any manner of trespass, whether it be for an ox or for an ass or for a sheep or for raiment or for any manner of lost thing, the man shall receive double, and therefore you should pay me 6 guineas. And secondly—" "Not another farthing!" sputtered Grobstock, red as a turkey-cock. "Very well," said the Schnorrer imperturbably, and lifting up his voice he called, "Wilkinson!" "Hush!" commanded Grobstock. "What are you doing?" "I will tell Wilkinson to bring back my property." "Wilkinson will not obey you." "Not obey me? A servant? Why, he is not even black. All the Sephardim I visit have black pages much grander than Wilkinson, and they tremble at my nod. At Baron de Aguilar's mansion in Broad Street Buildings there is a retinue of 24 servants, and they—
And what is your second claim?
compensation for being degraded to fishmongering. I am not of those who sell things in the street. I am a son of the law, a student of the Talmud.
If a crown piece will satisfy each of these claims—
I am not a bloodsucker. As it is said in the Talmud, Tractate Pesach, God loves the man who gives not way to wrath nor stickles for his rights. That makes altogether 3 guineas and 3 crowns.
Yes, here they are.
Wilkinson reappeared.
You called me, sir?
He said. No, I called you, said Manasseh. I wish to give you a crown. And he handed him one of the 3. Wilkinson took it, stupefied, and retired. Did I not get rid of him cleverly? Said Manasseh. You see how he obeys me.
Yes.
I shall not ask you for more than the bare crown I gave him to save your honour.
To save my honour?
Would you have had me tell him the real reason I called him was that his master was a thief? No, sir. I was careful not to shed your blood in public, though you had no such care for mine.
Here is the crown, said Grobstock savagely. Nay, here are 3. He turned out his breeches pockets to exhibit their absolute nudity.
No, no, said Manasseh mildly. I shall take but 2. You had best keep the other. You may want a little silver. He pressed it into the magnate's hand. You should not be so prodigal in future, he added in a kindly reproach. It is bad to be left with nothing in one's pocket. I know the feeling and can sympathise with you. Grobstock stood speechless, clasping the crown of charity. Standing thus at the hall door, he had the air of Wilkinson, surprised by a too generous veil. Da Costa cut short the crisis by offering his host a pinch from the jewel-encrusted snuff-box. Grobstock greedily took the whole box, the beggar resigning it to him without protest. In his gratitude for this unexpected favour, Grobstock pocketed the silver insult without further ado, and led the way toward the second-hand clothes. He walked gingerly, so as not to awaken his wife, who was a great amateur of the siesta, and might issue suddenly from her apartment like a spider, but Manasseh stolidly thumped on the stairs with his staff. Happily, the carpet was thick. The clothes hung in a mahogany wardrobe with a plate-glass front in Grobstock's elegantly appointed bedchamber. Grobstock rummaged among them while Manasseh, parting the white Persian curtains lined with pale pink, gazed out of the window toward the tenterground that stretched in the rear of the mansion. He watched the couples promenading among the sunlit parterres and amid the shrubberies, in the cool freshness of declining day. Here and there the vivid face of a dark-eyed beauty gleamed like a passion flower. Manasseh surveyed the scene with bland benevolence, at peace with God and man. He did not deign to bestow a glance upon the garments till Grobstock observed, "There, I think that's all I can spare." Then he turned leisurely and regarded, with the same benign aspect, the litter Grobstock had spread upon the bed. A medley of articles in excellent condition, gorgeous neckerchiefs piled in 3-cornered hats, and buckled shoes trampling on white waistcoats. But his eye had scarcely rested on them a quarter of a minute when a sudden flash came into it and a spasm crossed his face. "Excuse me," he cried, and hastened toward the door. "What's the matter?" exclaimed Grobstock in astonished apprehension. Was his gift to be flouted thus? "I'll be back in a moment," said Manasseh, and hurried down the stairs. Relieved on one point, Grobstock was still full of vague alarms. He ran out on the landing. "What do you want?" he called out as loudly as he dared. "My money," said Manasseh. Imagining that the Schnorrer had left the proceeds of the sale of the salmon in the hall,
Joseph Grobstock returned to his room and occupied him half mechanically in sorting the garments he